Call the commission meeting to order. And would you stand with me, please, for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance? Our kind Heavenly Father, tonight we ask that you will be with us as we conduct the business of the city. Guide us in our words and our actions that they may reflect your will. These things we have in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker,
Here.
Commissioner Garver, Commissioner White,
Here.
Vice Mayor Johnson, Mayor Lamb.
Here. You had in your packet the minutes from our January 3 meeting. Are there any corrections, anything we need to change in it?
I make a motion we accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker,
Yay.
Commissioner White,
Yay.
Mayor Lamb.
Yay. Now's the time we have to set aside for comments from our citizens. And I just want to clarify that if you're here to speak to the public hearing in regard to the property over in the Appleton Collegedale area, please hold your comments to that until we have the public hearing. This time is set aside for individuals to share information with us in regard to the city, but not the agenda item number 1. So if you have something you want to share, just approach the microphone and give us your name and your address. Seeing none, we'll go on with our agenda. Unfinished business from our agenda. The first item is the second reading and the public hearing of Ordinance 1104. Would you read the caption, please?
An ordinance to amend the official zoning map to rezone certain properties from AG Agricultural District to R1L Low Density Single Family Residential, more particularly described as Hamilton County Tax Map 151, Parcel 026, and Hamilton County Tax Map 161, Parcel 067. Said properties being located within the corporate limits of Collegedale, Tennessee.
Thank you. I'll close the commission meeting and open the public hearing. If there's anyone that wishes to speak to this item, just approach the microphone and give us your name and your address.
Madam Chair, fellow commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've looked at this project in depth and tried to understand both sides of it. For Collegedale, it provides much needed housing for our community partners. It increases your tax base. Knowing Mike Price and the quality of work he does, this is indeed a quality project. However, on the other hand, I feel like the citizens of Appleton have been wronged, not by this commission, but by the county. They have not had their voices heard. And it's rightful, I think, that they're upset because their community is being affected and they have had no say-so. And that's neither their fault nor your fault. But I'm here to say to the citizens of Appleton, if elected as your county commissioner, I will make sure that on the county side, any promises made will be fulfilled. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My Ronald Poe. I live on Orchard Drive in Appleton. And I understand that they was wanting to widen Orchard Drive Road all the way around. And there's several different ways they can go. They can go past houses property there, and there's a good road that runs all the way out to East Brainerd Road. Why can't they go that way and still coming out on Orchard Drive and having to widen all that out Orchard Drive to make room for cars to get through and take our property and everything, when they can go a different way and avoid all that?
Okay. I don't know. Is there anything, our
The-
city manager is also a city engineer, so.
So eminent domain is not being used in this project. Any widenings being done within the existing right-of-way or through agreement with private property owners to acquire the necessary property. Additionally, the proposed improvements were approved by the county and the fire marshal.
Well, what I was understanding that they was want to take part of my property, widen Appleton Pike, wide enough for two cars to pass. Right now, it's not wide enough for two cars to go by. They would have to widen the road on both sides to have enough room to get around through there. And certain people's property is gonna come right up there in their doorway, if they widen the road there. And I don't see why they can't go through my WT houses property and go out that other road that goes out on East Brainerd Road. It's wide enough to accommodate two vehicles that way instead of coming out on Appleton Pike.
Do you live right on Orchard?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I live on Orchard Drive.
Okay.
Do you live close to where the tiny house construction company?
Yeah, I
is?
live right across from it, and George Ryder's driveway that they bought with the other property. He lives right behind me, and they was going to take. I understand it was going to take all the way up to my ditch, my front yard, as right of way, and then they were going to widen the Appleton Pike in front of the house too, wide enough for two cars to go through there. And that's going to be a lot of going to affect a lot of people up through there when they could go right straight through my WT house and go down that other road, come out on East Brainerd Road, and wouldn't have that issue.
Did the builders or anyone talk to you
No,
during
ain't
this
nobody talked
process?
to me. No,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay.
So,
Thank you for your comments.
Wayne, can you explain some more?
I can, and the applicant's here too that worked on the design plans, so he'll know in a little more detail. It sounds like there may be confusion between existing right-of-way and private property. And so the project is either the road widening is staying either within existing right-of-way, or the developer has entered into an agreement with private property owners to acquire additional property for right-of-way. They will not be taking any property. However, sometimes people don't realize that the right-of-way extends beyond just the asphalt. It will include things such as the ditch and that sort of thing. And so
You measure from the middle of the road, correct?
typically, and in different situations, depending on when the road was platted and donated to the municipality, they can be of differing widths. There are differences there.
Now, from what I understand, the gentleman told us that it was going to be like 10 to 20 feet, I think, depending on the sides. Is that correct?
For
Or
the
something.
width?
It might not have been exactly 20, but it was like parts of the roads they were talking about, they had moved the mailboxes back maybe 10 feet. And then some on the other side might be a little bit of different, but let me picture this in my mind. So we're coming out onto Orchard. My understanding was they're coming to Orchard and they're going down to Macaulay, right?
Mhm.
And then are they widening down Macaulay, or are they just going to connect over to the?
I think it'd be best to let the designer speak to those
Yeah,
details.
Could you explain? I'm trying to picture it in my head.
My name's Derek Blackwood. I'm with MAP Engineers. We're the civil engineers for the project. And you're right, the road is being widened from the development out to Macaulay, but beyond that, the roads are in decent enough shape and in coordination with the county, that those beyond Macaulay are not being
It's not
improved.
going to be widened or anything.
No, ma'am.
Okay, and so then and like Mr. Hines was saying, that the property is, because they've already worked all this out.
Right.
That is from my understanding, got the purchased or got the right way to the individual owners of the land.
So we're widening Orchard Drive completely within the existing right of way. So we're not taking anybody's land, as Mr. Hines said.
Okay.
There is typically, there's sometimes people, homeowners, have the understanding that their property extends to the edge of pavement. And that's obviously not always the case. And so where the county property, the county right of way exists, that's where we're operating within.
Let me ask a question too, if I may, because I saw it was sent to me, a gentleman video that it was taken 33 feet off of his property in front of his parents' home, who no longer live there because they're deceased. He lives in the house beside it. And he marked it off stakes and everything. My understanding is that you don't necessarily always take on one side only.
No,
And
ma'am.
that's where I was thinking about the 10 feet and the 20 feet on one side or something.
So
It's the middle of the road and you measure over.
typically, but like I said, we're not changing properties. We're not going onto anybody's property. We're working within the existing right of way itself. And so it may be a little bit more on one side versus the other, depending on where the existing road edge is. But I don't, there's no way that there's going to be extending 30 feet onto somebody's property when the road's not even 30 feet wide.
How wide's your right of way out there?
It varies out through here. I'd say you're somewhere between, I don't know, 35 feet wide, somewhere in that neighborhood on average.
It's not that large of it's
It-
not that long of a distance.
No, ma'am.
Because I've been out there and drove it a few times,
Right.
just to look things over and to get a visual of things that are.
I think you've got 5 properties that you're going to be
Yeah.
improving in front of.
So for clarification, the city of Collegedale is not using eminent domain to take anybody's
sir.
land.
No.
This county is not using eminent domain to take anybody's land.
No, sir.
This is a very legal process within the right of way that's currently been established and been there.
Right.
Since the county put a road there.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Had you or the builder considered even discussing any of this with the individuals that live along this space, this length of road? I'm concerned because they didn't know anything about it until it came out.
Right. And that's what we're here to discuss and
But it's a little bit late for that now.
I understand. Given that it's fully within the right of way, whether there's a development or not, the road could be widened, and we've worked with staff, county, the fire marshal, and with everybody's input, we felt like that this was the best and least impactful way to achieve what we're wanting to achieve, to make this development a great development for the city of Collegedale, and also be beneficial for the county as well.
So if the county were to come in and widen the road, because obviously we've heard concerns from the residents in that area that it's too small,
Mhm.
they would be working within the same bounds and they'd be
Yes.
doing the same things, and they would not need permission from the residents around there, correct?
No,
Correct.
but there's a matter of courtesy that the
Thank you.
county could
Yes, sir.
have done, and that's what concerns me very much, is the lack of communication from the county when it's my understanding that our Commissioner Smedley knew nothing about it.
And I understand your concern, but that's outside the legal bounds of this body.
I'm only expressing just like you can.
I think, clarify me if I'm wrong, okay, please. With what we, as Collegedale, can do, because what you're discussing there, what the fellow commissioners were discussing, county should have been up on their game, but we would have no say in that anyway. because
No.
Orchard and them are in Appleton, and we have no jurisdiction over Appleton. What we're here tonight is to look at the property and the legal rights of the, I think it's about an acre
Yes.
that is wanting to be annexed, which according to the policies and the laws and things, and we kind of went above that to ensure that Appleton was taken care of, that we thought, whether to annex or not. That's the only thing we have jurisdiction over.
Right.
It's from my understanding. Am I wrong?
No, we're correct. We
That's
don't have
correct.
anything to do
And-
with
So
the
the
road.
county and anything to do with the county, they would need to address with the county.
And the roadway improvements would have been addressed at the staff level, not at the commission level.
And
So
with-
there wouldn't have been a public information or hearing.
No, that's what I was wondering, because that's a whole different issue. So we could not make any decisions or anything based of what is actually in Appleton. All we can do is look at that annexation, which, from my understanding, and from what I've read and what I've researched, and what I've helped to make policies on, that it's attached to Collegedale property.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
the owner that's wanting to ask, that owns the property, to access it and make it all Collegedale. It's not going to affect the taxes. Collegedale has no effect on taxes in another jurisdiction. In other words, property taxes, unless they were Collegedale residents and the property was in Collegedale, we have no jurisdiction over the taxation of property taxes. That's with the county.
Right.
So I think that what we're looking at is that based upon what we are legally and responsible to do to our citizens and going by legal expectations, not to take land away or anything, but to honor the request of the gentleman that has asked, or the company that has asked for the annexation, because it will not impact the taxes on any other person outside of Collegedale area. And the people coming into Collegedale are very much aware of our tax base, so, which actually is better than most places.
Right.
Excuse me, Commissioners, just wanted to clarify that the annexation of that 1 acre property has already taken place. The property, the development that is being discussed here tonight is largely on the remaining 62 acres that was previously and already in the city of Collegedale. So the annexation, other than bringing 1 additional acre into this, is really not the subject of tonight's conversation. Just wanted to make sure that everybody's aware of that in the room.
So then why are we actually here if we have no jurisdiction to help, but we're just doing for this 1 acre? Do you understand what I'm
This
saying?
is not about that.
It isn't for the 1 acre. This is the access for the
road.
entire project.
Yeah.
The 1 acre is simply adjacent to the bulk of the property that's already in Collegedale. So the annexation is really, it's irrelevant as far as the road is concerned.
But the
So-
road is, what we're looking at is the road.
Correct.
And we still, I guess what I'm saying is this: what's in Collegedale, we can take some accountability for. But what's outside of Collegedale, we're not responsible for. So we're talking about the road, and we're talking about Orchard, and right there, that would not come through us anyway.
That is correct. But what is part of this is that a condition of the zoning request and the PUD, the plan unit development, is that adequate access through Orchard Drive must be obtained through and approved by Hamilton County and the fire marshal, which has taken place. But that is one of the conditions that staff recommended through to the planning commission. So, and obviously that's one of the central questions that the residents have here. How is that access being obtained? And that's why, the MAP is able to describe that much better than we could.
And I'd like to point out, this wasn't blindsided. Back before I was removed from the planning commission, we discussed this back in the spring. So this has been on the county commission's level, or at least in the public's knowledge, for almost a year. So this conversation has been going on for a while. And like you said, Commissioner Baker, the orchard part, yes, I hear the concerns of the residents, and yes, there is pain there, but that we can't change that at all.
That wouldn't need to go through the county.
But we can listen to them and help them to perhaps understand, to work with their county personnel in the future.
But I can agree with that, yeah. So I
I'll,
gotta
I'll be
make-
happy to answer any other questions. I can sit down and let the other
I think
residents speak.
Zach has-
Where Alpine starts, it's right next to the railroad track. And does that mean the 30 feet will come over, has to come over on one side, and that's gonna take houses and everything.
From my
The
understanding,
road
that's
runs
two
right
different
beside the
things.
Railroad track, and you can't go over any further, to the railroad track, and 30 foot has to come off over on the other side of the road. And there's houses, one house right there that is not 30 foot, from the road there, so it would take that house completely, because you can't go no further the other way because of the railroad track, 'cause the road runs right beside the railroad track.
As I understand it, sir, there's nothing, no private property is going to be taken and none of the houses themselves will be affected. Am I not correct in that? That's
Uh,
correct?
There ain't no way that you can widen the road, because of the railroad track, it runs right beside the railroad track, it'd have to come over on the left-hand side of the road, and you're talking about 30 foot, that's gonna take houses.
Are you talking about Appleton Pike?
I'm talking
Well,
about.
Okay,
That's
that's
a-
a
that's a
state,
Yeah.
That's the state road.
Drive starts, is right next to the railroad track,
Yeah,
and you can't go no further over that way, because right next to the railroad track, you're talking about 30 foot. If you take 30 foot off one side to widen it, it's gonna take houses.
We're not talking about 30 feet. The resultant width will range,
If you had 30 foot from the center of the road, for the right of way.
the total
The
width,
road is right next to the railroad track, you can't go to the right, it has to all go to the left.
the total width of the right-of-way MAP thought was about 35 feet, but the resultant road width will be between 22 and 26 feet wide.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, the road is right next to the railroad track, you can't go
Not
no further this
Archer.
way. Because of the railroad track, the road is right next to the railroad track. And if you widen it, it's gonna have to come over on the, going into Orchard Drive, it's gonna have to come over off the left-hand side. And there's one house that sits right close to the road, and, to widen it right there, you would have to take the house. Because you can't go any further over to the railroad track, it has to all come over to the left-hand side.
It's not coming over 30 feet, though. I don't know how much wider it'll be in that area, but it's not 30 feet.
Well, the road is real narrow, 2 cars can pass. You got to pull over, let one car by, and it's right next to the railroad track. And to widen it enough to, count 2 cars, that house right there would have to go in the other, houses there. The road is right in their door.
Maybe after the meeting, you can get together with the gentleman that spoke just prior to you and look at the map with him so that you can discuss that part with him, since we can't do anything about that. Thank you, though, for your comments.
Hello, I'm Gary Green. I'm a resident of Old Town Appleton, 11206 First Street. And I do want to say a comment. First of all, I think a lot of people are really misinformed. Thanks to social media, I think that the majority of what people are reading online is not true. To kind of follow through with his concerns, what he's saying is I am a resident of the community, 4th generation. I've been in that community since way before the majority of the people even in this room were there. Now, some of them have been there longer than me, but I'm just saying. The area of widening the road, it is my understanding they're not taking anyone's lawns. They're simply taking the right-of-way that was obtained by the county when Orchard Drive became a road in the late 1800s. It's been that long. The only area of Orchard Drive that's going to be widened is from the curve at the entrance to the tiny house factory directly straight into the neighborhood. So the specific location of the house that he's talking about, I do understand, but the road's already wide there. The 30-foot, if it is a 26-foot easement, it will come from the center of the street and extend 13 feet in each direction. which means you're only talking about a couple of feet on each side of the road in the specific place where 3 of the homes are located. So it's actually not going to be taking up a lot of people's front lawns and everything. I just don't understand why everyone is so, I keep seeing this thing in social media about eminent domain and things like that, and the poor residents of Appleton. And I'm sitting here as one of those residents thinking that's not the case. And it's a miscommunication and a misinformed, because as a resident there, some people are in opposition of this development and others are not. Because it would be a great, I'm looking at some of the benefits, because Orchard Drive is not a wide road. Fire trucks have problems going down that street. If anything, this is going to be a public improvement that the county, in my opinion, has always overlooked that area. For generations of commissioners they've never done anything to that community, and they've just kind of let it be the wayside. So anyway, that's all I have to say for now. It's just I think it's a lack of communication and a misinformed opinion to have based off of whether they're going to be taking the road up to someone's front porch or not. That's not the case. It's the section of the road, if I'm correct, from the curve directly in is really the only widening area, correct? Is that right?
It goes back to Macaulay, but.
It goes to Macaulay, but if you go from the center and you look at the street, it's already,
Macaulay right there is pretty wide out.
it's about 28 feet wide right there, because I ride,
Coming back toward the curve.
I walk there daily. It's about 28 foot wide, so.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
This one reason why I have expressed my concern, I don't think there would be confusion had the county worked and discussed with the people who live along that road. And I appreciate your comments there.
My name is Fred Elmendorf, and I'm a resident of Orchard Drive. I live at 4913 Orchard Drive, and I have 3 different properties that front on Orchard Drive. We've been there since 1980, and I am one of those that is quite confused about why we're here tonight. I understand that the property, Orchard Drive, is not Collegedale property.
That is correct.
So I don't know what our discussion is about here. I'd love to have a solution to it, but I don't know how to do that here. I am certainly not in favor of widening Orchard Drive and adding another 300 cars a day to the community, because when I moved there in 1980, it was expressly because it was a small community with small roads, and it was quiet without traffic running up and down the streets. So I'm not in favor of widening Orchard Drive. Now, what they're talking about is going from the curve back along the railroad tracks to Macaulay, and I don't front on that part of Orchard Drive. But I do know that when that railroad track gets busy, they're going to turn the other direction on Orchard Drive that is not being improved, it's not being widened, and we don't want it widened, but it's going to increase the traffic in front of my property. So I'm not at all happy with that, but I don't know how that has anything to do with being here.
Well, thank you, Mr. Elmendorf. I looked where you lived. I actually suggested to Commissioner Smedley that she worked with the county to put a do not enter sign and make Orchard Drive a one-way street to keep traffic from flowing onto Orchard Drive going towards First Street, because it is super narrow. And she said she was going to be working on that as a solution to stop traffic from flowing into that direction.
I'm not in
Like you said,
favor
that's
of it
not
being-
our responsibility.
Right.
It's not, we don't have a say in it, but
Sure.
I floated the idea to her to, at least something to,
Well, I'm not
to
in
work
favor of
with.
one-way street, but if it was a cul-de-sac, that would be fine.
put a dead end there or,
So what
like
are
a
we here
barrier.
for tonight? I guess is my biggest question. Why are we here? What are these 2 items pertain to, and what is the discussion we should be having around those?
Because we are, it is a public hearing for the company to change it from AG to R1L.
Can somebody
Correct.
explain what that means to me? Because
To have the development that these gentlemen want to have, it has to be rezoned. And so the commission is hearing the issue of the rezoning right now.
okay,
of the land that resides in the city of Collegedale currently.
okay.
And-
Well, if I have an opinion on that, it would be no, I don't want it rezoned. My property is being bordered on about 5 different areas, 5 different property lines of mine are adjacent to the property that's in discussion. And I'm not at all in favor of having that developed with with 100+ homes and all that traffic that's there. So no, it doesn't matter probably, but that's my opinion.
Okay, Thank you.
Thank you.
Just came in from feeding horses. My name is Catherine Domahovsky. I live at 11040 East Brainerd Road. And while I am not, and I too am kind of confused as to why we're here, and I certainly appreciate this opportunity to express my concerns from a resident of Appleton since 1992, and the subsequent growth that we've seen with no input as to infrastructure. And I appreciate the fact that this is an opportunity. It's out of your bailiwick. It's not directly pertains to you, but I can go on record and I have a clear conscience. I live on a very sharp turn on East Brainerd Road. It's directly across from the cemetery. And that is, Old East Brainerd Road is a very narrow, very dangerous, under good conditions, road. This proposed community, from what I understand, is a done deal. That we're kind of sticking our heads in the sand and we're saying we don't want progress. It's not that at all. We want our concerns, and as you have so aptly put, we haven't been heard by our county. We've not been given the opportunity to have our opinions heard, and we feel like when we do bring valid opinions to our county commissioners and to the planning commission, they're not heard because all that is recognized is development, tax dollars, and what's considered and construed as progress. There is no consideration given to infrastructure. Those roads are subpar to begin with. I don't know who can refer to the roads past Orchard as being sufficient to withhold traffic of that capacity. I invite anyone who's in a capacity of authority to come and sit on my driveway, my private driveway that has East Brainerd Road coming from both directions, and just watch the traffic. I went to the county, the roads department. It's posted 30 miles an hour on either side of my driveway because it's a hazard for me to pull out of my driveway pulling a horse trailer. I've had people rear end me. I've had people be just offensive. So yes, I understand that this is not directly something that you can have an effect for, but thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to make our concerns known. Some people have said, let's put a light at the end of Bill Jones Road and East Brainerd Road. That is a horrendous turn, and it should be addressed. It should have been addressed a long time ago. But all that's going to do is shunt traffic down Old East Brainerd Road to a stop sign that people don't even recognize anyway. I leave for work at 20 after 6 in the morning, and I see people roll right through that stop sign. I see school buses roll right through that stop sign. So it's frustrating. We're not heard, but the developers are heard, and the people that have the money are heard. People that want to sell the property are heard. And just thank you very much for having this opportunity to express my concerns.
Thank you. Anyone else? We're going to cut this off at a quarter till, if not before.
Esteemed people, I'm Beth Scott, and I live at 11118 East Brainerd Road, and I'm right in front of Catherine. I think the issue that people are having with the development, I would like to go on record as saying I'm not opposed to development, and I recognize and understand that our Appleton area truly doesn't have any jurisdiction with the Collegedale, but the access does. The access is the problem, the access. So when we're looking at Orchard Drive, when we're looking at the railroad, when we're looking at footage, the amount of traffic coming across on Orchard Drive, crossing over to get onto Appleton Pike is going to be a lot. Now, I realize the state is going to come through there. That may take 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years. Who knows? Because they only work on a budget that has money in it. So I think the issue truly is just the access. Is there no other way to create this subdivision and with a different access? That's my question. Why take this little tiny drive? Why take the tiny drive? And why do developers not talk to the citizens? Y'all don't have any say over that. I realize that. But I would just like to know, because there's a lot of angst and anger, and it just seems like the communication in the process is just a problem. And this is a county thing, not a Collegedale thing. But it is access. And I would like to ask, there should be, please find another access, an access that takes us into Collegedale or some other way for this community, which is Collegedale and driven, and the taxes and all of that come, but yet Appison's Orchard Drive gets the traffic. Something just isn't quite sinking here for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Tracy Smith with Blue Mountain Company, 1756 Vandergrift Road, Signal Mountain. And particularly Mayor Lamb, I wanted just to clear something up, if I could. Orchard Drive, particularly the part that would be widened, there are only 3 or 4 residents there, and we have met with those folks. I'm not sure how that came about otherwise, but Mr. Poe, I've spoken with Mr. Poe several times, not about the widening, because he lives around the corner and the widening will not be taking place, at his home. 2 of the other residents we've had conversations with, one of them at length, several conversations. And so our presence has been there. We've made effort to contact folks and be available for the folks who will be most affected by the widening. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you very much. Makes me feel a little better about dumping all that traffic into them.
I would like to say one more thing, and that is that I understand they've talked to the residents that are directly on the part of Orchard Drive that they're trying to widen, but they have not talked to me. And there are a number of us on that part of Orchard Drive. Even though it's not being widened, it'll be impacted by the traffic. And I agree with Ms. Scott that there should be a different way to access this community, not through Appison. Now, Collegedale only has jurisdiction of Collegedale property, and I understand that. But I would like to reiterate the fact that I do not, I'm not happy and would not like to see this property rezoned. That's what we're here for. And I would not like to see that happen.
Thank you. Seeing no one else getting up. Oh, okay. Hurry before I do this.
Gary Green, 11206 Orchard. I'm actually on First Street in Appleton. I do want to say something. I see a lot of my neighbors in here. Seems to me like the question and concern actually really isn't with you guys. I understand the dumping out of the traffic and everything, but there's one thing. I am a 4th generation Appleton resident. There's one thing we all need to remember. After I completed my term at Appleton Elementary School and then became an adult and got married and had 3 children, my children went to that school. The original Appleton Elementary School is on Old East Brainerd Road. When I was the PTA president and gave back to the community there were 267 students in that school. And these streets that we're talking about is what handled all of the traffic flow coming in and out of the schools and the churches in the community, and it did not create a problem. I know that that's not a 160 home development, but we're talking about over 100 more students that came to school there through the school term of the year, and it did not create a problem. I really don't, I think everyone here has the misinformation. I feel like that the residents of Appison we need to get together with the county and discuss the neglect that our area has had for so long, which is actually not your problem. It is our problem, and we just happen to be now in the middle of it, and it's getting a lot of attention. But one thing I do want to say to my neighbors and my neighbor city, Collegedale, I have been to every single meeting for over a year that you guys have done on this. And for those of you who haven't been here, the one thing that all I see is the negativity online. The one thing that I've seen is you working with the developers, negotiating and everything of what would benefit the community, what you do like to see the future of Collegedale to be, and to be a good neighbor to the residents of Appison. And I want to thank you guys for that, because I think you've done a great job with it. And I really do want to thank you for it. And I've spoke with the developers myself about this development for over a year. As a resident, I just want to reiterate, they're not just coming in and taking over. They actually are talking to us and asking what we would like to see in the community. I think that's the reason why there's so many of the neighbors that are going to be directly affected are not even here tonight. So I think that speaks volumes. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'm closing the public hearing and opening up the commission meeting again. And so now it's up to us to make a decision about ordinance 1104, which is to rezone the property that's within Collegedale from agriculture to R1L. And Kelly, can you say what 1RL is, please?
R1L is one of the zoning classifications. Would be considered a low-density residential zone. The existing zone is AG, agricultural, which even though it's called agricultural, it does allow residential uses to take place on that property at a lower density. At R1L, the base density would be upwards of 5 units per acre, but this PUD will limit that to no more than 2.4 units per acre. Which is the companion piece that you will be considering tonight. So it would allow single-family detached dwellings, and the PUD would allow single-family attached dwellings, which would be townhouses on fee simple lots. So, but this alone, R1L, single-family residential, low density.
Would you just go ahead and explain to them and the people here what the PUD is?
Yeah,
Kelly,
that was
excuse me,
my
Mayor.
next question.
Yeah.
Right, and
That's part of
Yeah.
the open hearing of both of these.
similar to our peers in other cities and in the county, the zoning is every piece of property, if you adopt zoning, must be zoned. And so that's what our discussion is tonight. It's already zoned AG, and the discussion is to rezone it R1L. Now, the planned unit development overlay is allows additional flexibility in lot sizes, configuration, width, separation. And so that is an overlay that is placed on top of the zoning. And in this case, it is based on the site plan as submitted and reviewed and approved by you all. So it's what you see is what you get. That the site plan shows you the lot configuration or at least the number of lots, the different types of units, and then the overall density, because I believe about 20 acres, a little over 20 acres will be preserved out of the balance of 63 acres plus or minus. So the planned unit development basically allows you to see a sneak peek of what they want to do in public, and so that it can be considered with certain conditions and conditioned to the site plan itself, as I mentioned. So that's what a planned unit development overlay accomplishes. It also, like I said, the base density could be 5 units per acre, but with the PUD overlay, they're not proposing that. And therefore, we're considering what they're asking for, which is 2.39 units per acre.
To put it in layman's terms, there wouldn't be any more additional homes than otherwise would be on this property. Instead, they can arrange it in a way that they can have open space and a little bit closer houses and all that sort of stuff. The number of houses will be the same. It's just going to be aligned.
Right. Well, for example, the townhouses I mentioned, that would normally not be allowed in R1L, but it is allowed in the planned unit development. And there are several townhouse units in there with rear loaded garages and those kind of things, which are depicted on the site plan. And to kind of build on to what Sam says, if they do want to at some point add additional units, add additional density, then we would be back here. They can't do that automatically. It would have to go through the entire process with the yellow zoning signs, the planning commission hearing, and then would go before you all. So it does give a certain amount of assurance as to what they're asking for and vis-a-vis what we're going to get, or the county. And so that's it's a quid pro quo with the PUD. There's things that they have to do with sidewalks and street lighting and that sort of thing, open space. But at the same time, we see that what they're proposing, and that's what they'll have to construct.
Okay. Any questions, any comments from our commissioners on this first ordinance 1104?
No, I would just like to say that over the last course of the year, there's been at least 4, maybe 5 public hearings regarding this development. The first 2, the developers came to the city of Collegedale with a proposal. Staff and the planning commission sent it back for revision to come back with a better product, and that's what we have today. So thank you to staff and the developer for working with our city staff to create a good product for the city of Collegedale in the area. And I just wanted to make sure it was known that there's been at least 4 public hearings, or at least 4 public meetings about this. And with that, since they have met all of the legal requirements and done everything to the city of Collegedale standards, I move to approve this ordinance.
And I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to rezone the property from AG to R1L. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker?
Yay.
Commissioner White?
Yay.
Mayor Lamb?
Yay. Okay, our second item is the ordinance 1105, which to approve a PUD for the property. Any questions? Any
Did you have your
statements?
public hearing on both matters when you had your public hearing, Mayor?
I was hoping we could count it like that. Do I need to do
Yeah, no,
another?
that's fine. I just didn't hear it announced that way.
Well, I don't think I did,
Okay.
so we better do it.
All right, but the comments should just be limited to the device of the planned unit development. We've already talked about the
Right,
rezoning.
Right. I apologize. Close it for public hearing on 1105. Does anyone want to talk about the PUD?
You've had your public hearing, Mayor.
We'll close it and go back to the second reading of 1105. So any comments?
I make a motion we accept.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve 1105, which is the PUD overlay for this property. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker?
Yay.
Commissioner White?
Yay.
Mayor Lamb?
Yay. New business, we have none, but we have reports from our city manager.
I'll ask Michelle to present the budget report for you.
Good evening. You should have the December finance report in front of you. So we're 50% through the year, and we've received 50% of revenues. The expenditures, we've only spent 44%, so we're doing well there. All of the revenues that are below 50 at this time should be at 100 by June. For instance, the business tax usually comes in all in the fourth quarter, and also the cable TV franchise that comes in February. So those are some that look low but will either approach or exceed 100 probably by June.
Okay, any questions for our esteemed financial officer? Okay, you want to finish up the other part?
Yes, okay. As far as the bank balances go, everything's looking, holding steady. The only thing you'll notice the big jump in the checking account, and that is because we received 1.4 million in property tax in January, just a few days ago.
Okay. Any questions about the balances and counting?
Move to approve.
I second.
We have a motion and a second, and I want to say thank you, Michelle, for the good job you do with this.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker?
Yay.
Commissioner White?
Yay.
Mayor Lamb?
Yay. Do you have anything else?
So as you know, the storms came through. Public Works did a great job staying on top of everything. The snow wasn't that bad. We had some plowing and salting to do. And we had several downed trees, but those were cleared pretty quickly. We had some staff here all the way through and overnight. But did a good job staying on top of that. Also, the federal COVID funds have been less restricted. So we still plan to spend a significant amount on sewer, but we are looking at some other strategic investments that I'll present to the commission once we nail those down.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. I really appreciate Public Works being out and clearing the roads. It was Monday morning, early. It was very nice to be able to drive on a dry road when I expected ice. Okay, Commissioner White.
Yeah, just echo that. Public Works did a heck of a job, especially with the skeleton crew that I know that we're working with right now. So make sure the guys that we're working get a little extra something as a thank you or something, or pass along our thanks and the residents' thanks, because I know other areas had some slippery roads and Collegedale was pretty dry. So thank you guys for that. I also want to say thank you to all the citizens of the area that came out to voice their concerns. I know emotions can get high and the process can seem confusing. But I want to say thank you to people for being involved. And we do have to work together, but there's also processes to go through that as well. So hopefully things in the future will be discussed on the county side a little bit more in the future. So, but thank you to city staff for putting together a good project. Thank you to the developer for investing in our city. We're doing good things here, and obviously people are wanting to move here, and yeah, we're looking forward to it. So thank you guys.
Okay. Commissioner Baker?
Well, I'll just piggyback off of that, and I want to thank everyone in the police department and Public Works because they do an outstanding job. I think all of our departments do an outstanding job. Go beyond, I call the call of duty. And I do appreciate all the citizens and those in our surrounding communities coming out, kind of echoing off of you both. And I wish everybody a safe trip home and a good week and COVID-free.
I don't have anything else to say other than I appreciate all of you. It's a good thing the three of us were here tonight.
Yeah. I don't worry about it.
Do I hear an adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
We're adjourned.
How you doing, Sam?